Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to examine Tony Stark and Pepper Potts' retirement situation. Tony is 57 years old. He'd like to retire next year at age 58. Pepper Potts is 53. They've saved up $3 million and want to know if they can retire right now. So the question is not so much can they retire, because the answer is, of course, yes. The real question is how much money can they spend in retirement? So there's a bunch of assumptions that we're going to use going into this analysis, one of which is Tony's going to live to be 85 years old before he passes. Pepper, we think, is going to last until she's 90 years old. I mentioned that they have $3 million saved up. $2.5 million of that is in an IRA. $500,000 is in a taxable account. They'd like to spend $102,000 a year in retirement. That's in today's dollars, inflated at 2.5% per year. And at full retirement age, Tony receives $36,000 in Social Security. So those are our base assumptions. Let's take a look at the analysis. The first thing to take a look at is, of course, the portfolio assumption. We're using a fairly standard moderate aggressive recommendation here for Tony Stark and Pepper Potts. What that means is that the portfolio is going to have 64% equities and 36% bonds. Now, this is an important assumption going in because the average annual return from this portfolio is about 5% per year, but it's going to come with uncertainty. So each year of the plan, we're assuming that this 5.1% can go up and down by 11%. Well, that's a pretty big window, but you don't get return without taking risk. And I'll explain here why in a minute. I mentioned earlier that Tony and Pepper can retire on $102,000 a year. Well, by using a Monte Carlo analysis, we're actually able to provide some probabilities with that. So we're estimating that Tony and Pepper have an 80% likelihood of success by spending $102,000 a year in today's dollars through the duration of their retirement. And that really means through the end of Pepper's life. If we get average rates of return on stocks and bonds, there's going to be money left over, $2.9 million for Pepper's estate at the end of her life. But it is possible for stock and bond returns to actually deliver lower than expected rates of return. And so that's what we're trying to show you graphically here in what I call the Blue Angel chart. And essentially what you're looking at here are different scenarios for the portfolio throughout the duration of Tony and Pepper's retirement. Now, this solid blue line that I've just been highlighting is the median value of the portfolio if we get average rates of return. Now, obviously, those rates of return could be higher, in some cases much higher, or lower, and in some cases much lower. And so what we want to do here is make sure that if the stock and bond returns are lower than normal through the entire course of the retirement, we want to make sure that we have a very good chance of not running out of money. We don't want to run out of money. So this lower edge here of the dark shaded area approximates this 80% probability of success that we have established as the threshold for spending for Tony and Pepper. What this means is that 75% of the time, stock and bond returns will be higher than what we're estimating down here. So this lower boundary becomes the point that we're really trying to tease out as we do this analysis. Let's have a look at their cash flows. In this retirement analysis, we're actually recommending that Toner and Pepper delay taking their Social Security till Tony turns 70. And so you can see in the early years of retirement, their income is going to come completely from their IRA. Now, this little spike here is a car purchase. You can see that we modeled a car purchase throughout their retirement, but that's what these orange bars are. These are withdrawals from the IRA account. At age 70, you can see Social Security starts to play a big role in funding their retirement. And here you see it take a dip down. That's Tony passing away, and Pepper assuming or receiving the primary beneficiary Social Security benefit. And so the reason to delay taking Social Security is you usually get an increase in benefit. So it's about 8% per year increase in your Social Security benefit. But the really interesting thing is that when Tony passes away, Pepper will assume his higher benefit. She loses the spousal benefit, but she will get the higher primary beneficiary benefit that's going to get that 8% bump per year by waiting from age 68 to age 70. We can actually quantify that here if you take a look. If we look at a comparison of the different Social Security benefits for Tony and Pepper over the course of their retirement. In the light gray here, you can see what happens if they take Social Security at Tony's age 68, which is essentially his full retirement age, as opposed to delaying by 2 years and beginning Social Security at age 70. And here you see these blue bars are higher all through retirement. That's because Tony and Pepper delayed taking Social Security till Tony's age 70, and now they're getting the higher benefit through the entire retirement plan. For Tony and Pepper, through the end of Pepper's life, which is until she passes away at age 90, that increases their retirement wealth by $247,000. Now, of course, if you don't live a long time, you're not going to get all that money. That's pretty obvious. And there is a break even. For Tony and Pepper, this break even is at Tony's age 81. That means as long as Tony lives past 81, he and Pepper will get more money from Social Security than if they took it at an earlier age. So our recommendation here, of course, is for Tony and Pepper to delay taking Social Security until age 70 so that they can get the higher benefit, and that will carry throughout Pepper's life. We actually ran through several stress tests looking at their plan. These are the type of things that people are very worried about today. Here you can see this is the baseline 80% probability of success. But what happens if the stock market drops immediately? Well, you see that probability actually falls, that probability of success. So yeah, that's pretty concerning. But if you look across all of these, higher taxes, lower Social Security, longevity, higher inflation than expected, higher healthcare expenses, higher healthcare expenses, all of these probabilities are slightly lower than what we see as the baseline probability, but not dramatically so. As a matter of fact, this market drop is probably the biggest one here, just looking at all of these different stress tests. So what that means is, from Tony and Pepper's perspective, the biggest risk to their retirement is really an immediate market drop right after they retire. We can summarize all of these conclusions in a table that shows us the cash flows for the proposed plan. So we have Tony and Pepper retiring next year when Tony turns 58. Their expenses are $102,000 a year. Now, if you remember, I said these things inflate at 2.5% per year, and that never stops. That's actually slightly above average inflation based on the last 100 years, but we're going to be conservative and assume higher inflation. We have them spending about $5,000 a year on vacation travel in the first 5 years of retirement. And if you remember, I said they're going to buy a really nice new car every 10 years or so. And so you can see that there at 59,000, and down here 10 years later, 76,000. So we're inflating both the vacation goal and the car goal by about 2.5% per year throughout the retirement. Now you can see that they're paying taxes right here from the beginning. That's because they're withdrawing money from their IRA, and their taxable account is also earning some money. So when we do these plans, almost always it makes sense to take money from the taxable account first, and then to take money from the IRA second. The reason is the IRA accounts are tax protected. You eventually have to pay taxes on those withdrawals, but the growth, the interest, the dividends, the capital gains that you get in the IRA, those taxable gains are all deferred until you actually begin withdrawing money from those portfolios. And so this system actually does that automatically. If you wait just a second, I'll show you how the cash is withdrawn from these various accounts as they go through retirement. But you can see here, the last thing I'll show you here is at age 70, you can see them turning Social Security on. You can see the benefit jumps up quite a bit when we get a full year's Social Security benefit. Now that's both Tony and Pepper. Tony's going to get the primary benefit, and we have Pepper getting her spousal benefit, which is 50% of the full retirement age Social Security benefit that Tony gets. That's where you see this income coming from. This is their total income. These are their total expenses. And of course, the difference is what they're pulling out of the portfolio. Now, I mentioned earlier that in the early parts of retirement, the couple should take money from the taxable account first. Let me show you that. So on this page, we're looking at the net cash flows from each account. We have of course, a column with the age, but here's the taxable account, the traditional IRA, and the Roth IRA. So I mentioned earlier that they're spending about $102,000 a year, and that living expense is going to come out of the taxable account. But the other thing that's happening, you notice here that we're actually drawing on the taxable IRA. We're doing Roth conversions to enhance the tax position here. And you can see the Roth account actually going up in value. And so that's why this taxable account draw is more than $102,000 a year. $102,000 is the spending that they're going to make in this first year, and then the balance is what they're going to use to pay the income taxes on the Roth conversion. So the point on this slide here is just to show, yes, you're actually drawing on the taxable account first in retirement, and then the Roth IRA, the traditional IRA is going to be drawn down. You can see that as we go down this column here. But we've added some money to the Roth IRA, and this money actually, from a tax perspective, is completely sheltered. The interest, the dividends, and the capital gains are never taxed. And so that's the last money that you would ever spend. And this plan, which assumes average rates of return on stocks and bonds, they never touch the Roth IRA account. That money is left for the heirs. But let's talk more about this Roth conversion, because that's a really interesting concept. The theory behind doing a Roth conversion is to pull forward income from the latter part of your retirement to a time before Social Security income begins, and you're in a very low tax bracket. So Tony and Pepper are retiring at age 58. They're not going to, our recommendation is that they don't take Social Security until age 70. They may take it at age 58, but let's just say that they have this window, this almost 10-year window when they have very, very low income. Well, you can take small distributions from your traditional IRA and pay taxes on those distributions. And what winds up happening is you're pulling forward some of that future income from a higher tax bracket and paying the lower taxes today and putting that money in a Roth IRA. Here I'm showing that to you graphically. What you see here in this chart, this lower level, this green and blue area, this is all the income that Tony and Pepper are going to take throughout their retirement. These lines are actually the tax brackets. So the light blue line is the 10% tax bracket. The solid green line here, that is the 12 to 15% tax bracket. This yellow line is the 22% tax bracket, and this orange line here is the 24 to 28% tax bracket. So you can see in the back end of retirement, Tony and Pepper are going to pay, and this is the required minimum distribution, so they can't avoid paying these taxes. They're going to be in the 22 to 24% tax bracket. So is there a way to pull some of this income forward? And you can see this shaded area here, this light blue area, that's actually income that's getting pulled forward here to this period in the early parts of retirement. So we're moving money from the traditional IRA to the Roth IRA, and we're paying taxes on those distributions. And that's what this income is right here. These are the taxable income dollars that Tony and Pepper are going to take early in retirement to do the Roth conversions. That winds up enhancing their overall retirement by about $25,000 over the course of the retirement. But even more significant is that by doing Roth conversions, by the end of the plan, we're going to have 47% of their wealth in tax-deferred or tax-free accounts. And that's really what we're trying to do here. In terms of dollars, we can look down here on this table and see that in total dollar terms, when Tony turns 58 next year, the first year that they're not making any money but on retirement, they're going to convert around $95,000 from the tax deferred account, right? So that's the traditional IRA. And they're going to move that to the tax exempt account, right here, the tax free account balance. That's exactly what's happening here. And they're going to pay taxes on that. They're going to withdraw 102,000 to live off of, and they're going to pay some extra taxes that year in order to do that conversion. So you want to pay the taxes from the after tax account because you want to maximize the amount of dollars that you put into this Roth IRA. And you're going to do this for a couple of years. So we're going to do 95,000 next year. In 2 years, we're going to do another 101,000. The year after that, 106,000. And the year after that, 104,000. So we're going to, in 4 years, we're going to get $440,000 moved from the traditional IRA into the Roth IRA, where interest, dividends, capital gains are never taxed. Isn't that a wonderful thing? So, so that's what we recommend for Tony and Pepper, and that's how Tony and Pepper are going to be able to enhance their overall retirement. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation on Tony and Pepper. No problem. Thank you very much for listening in. And if you'd like us to take a look at your unique situation, give us a call at that phone number down below. We'd be happy to talk to you. Thank you very much. Have a great day. If you found this analysis helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button down on the bottom or give us a call. We'd really like to hear from you. Thank you very much.